means forever. So here we are 20 years into it, we're still receiving the funds. And the basis of the payments to the states is based on population. Well, national cigarette sales, and they've got a formula where they pay the states based on population of each state. So obviously California and New York receive more money than Kentucky, but last year, and we've been receiving over $100 million a year, the state has. Last year, we received $129 million as a result of the Master Settlement Agreement. And for 20 years, the General Assembly has been committing a portion of that money to agriculture, to our office to manage, administer the funds. We use those funds to invest in programs and projects to diversify Kentucky agriculture. And I think we've done a fairly good job. When you look at 1999-2000, we had 40,000 landowners, farmers dependent on tobacco production. That's less than 1,500 now. It was $1 billion industry. It's $250 million. You look at 1999, cash receipts were $4 billion. It's now $7 billion. So we like to think the $700 million in investments we've made in programs, in projects, has helped diversify our agriculture economy and less dependent on tobacco. So there's a little bit about the Kentucky Office of Ag Policy. So we've got a panel here today to talk about the different resources available to farmers here in this, not only in Pike County, but in the state. And I don't think in the history of this state, this country, that we've got more resources, that had as many resources to help our landowners and farmers to either establish a farm operation, diversification of their operation, or to expand their operation. Those are the three things I look at when we look at investing in different programs and projects. And of course, there's the beginning farmer component as well, and we'll talk about all that with our panelists. So do we have our PowerPoint where we can talk about the different resources that we have? So you can see that projects funded by, I mentioned the Ag Development Board, look at all the resources we have out here in the state of Kentucky funded with these Ag Development Funds. I made a reference, $700 million in investments for the last 20 years. Again, here's all the different resources and organizations that we have funded, and then there's other state resources we're going to hear about today. Most of those are here. All right, so next I'm going to turn it over to, next on our agenda is, I think we'll go with Kevin. You want to go ahead and start with Kentucky State University?
Sure. So as you all can see, we're one of the folks on that list that Bill had mentioned. And as he had also said that, you know, this is a really interesting time. I don't know that I've seen a whole lot of other places that have the kind of resources that Kentucky does currently for agricultural producers and rural development. So that's exciting going forward for sure for everybody. One of the main programs that we have that's related to the tobacco settlement money is a small-scale farm grant. And we're able to fund limited resource and low-income farmers for up to $5,000 at a time per project to do a variety of activities on their farm for diversification or expansion of existing operations. A couple of the categories that we cover are value-added products. That's been really popular. Folks taking raw agricultural commodities and turning them into things of greater value on the farm, then being able to sell them directly to consumers here in Kentucky. We've opened up a category for food insecure areas, so that's to help people in urban areas and in eastern Kentucky that were experiencing food deserts. So we were able to help folks with production-related equipment for that. We have a big aquaculture program at Kentucky State, so there's an aquaculture component to the grant, as Kentucky has some of the most access to fresh waters with its rivers and lakes that it has here. Another project that we have coming up that's spun off of that we're excited to talk about is there's a water quality project. We're working with, in coordination with the Kentucky Horticulture Council, to do some water testing for on-farm water quality for producers for their irrigation. So there will be a lab that will be in Whitesburg, and we'll be able to accept water samples from farmers on a weekly basis and test those and turn them around and get them the results at the end of the week. So that should be up and running hopefully by the end of the year, and we should be ready to go by production season next year. So we're excited about that. And then just quickly, there's a entrepreneurship program that's run out of the Wood Center at the Robinson Center, and that's in Quicksand. And that program allows folks that are interested in wood-based businesses that want to produce things to sell to consumers to operate out of the commercial wood center that they have there indefinitely until their business is deemed commercially viable, economically viable. So that's a real resource there to young entrepreneurs that might not have access to expensive equipment, woodworking equipment that may be cost prohibitive to some younger businesses. There's a variety of other stuff that we do. I'll let the gentleman down the line chat, and I'm sure we'll entertain some questions at the end. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Before I turn it over to Lesia Birchfield with the Pike County Conservation District, in the Ag Development, as you mentioned, Kevin did make you aware that the Ag Development Board, which is the entity that administers the tobacco funds, they realized that we've had to look at Kentucky as three different regions, basically Western Kentucky, Central Kentucky, and Eastern Kentucky, and realizing for Eastern Kentucky, it's small-scale, limited resource farmers. So that's one of the reasons why the Ag Development Board has supported the Kentucky Small-Scale Grant Program, realizing that is a different type of agriculture economy here in Eastern Kentucky. I mentioned earlier in my introduction that the state received $120 million out of the Master Settlement Agreement. It's the money from the cigarette companies paid to the state. $48 million of that is committed to agriculture. The other half of the money goes towards paying for small childhood development and healthcare initiatives. So our office is responsible for administering that money, the $48 million. $19 million of it gets committed to the counties based on tobacco history, and every county receives at least $30,000. So that's what Lisa's going to talk about, is the allocation of that tobacco money to Pike County and how they're utilizing it here in Pike County. So Lisa, take it away.
Good morning, and thank you. I am with the Pike County Conservation District, as he said. The CAPE program is one of our newest projects. It is a 75-25 match, and we do that for up to $4,000 per landowner. And it has been a great help to a lot of our farmers. A lot of them wouldn't be able to do the projects that they have been doing without this funding. A lot of the areas of the investment is on-farm energy, large animal, small animal, the farm infrastructure, which has been a great help to our local farmers. The fencing and on-farm water has also been one of our most popular ones. Forage and grain, poultry and other fowl, innovative ag systems, tech and leadership, value-added marketing, and ag diversification. For most of our farmers, they do have to have a ag water quality plan and a farm number to be able to apply for this. Each of these categories have a lot of other subcategories that they can apply for on this, and there's just really a lot of stuff. Just about anything that you need for your farm, you can apply for it underneath this program. So if anybody ever has any more information or anything, they can always stop by the office or call it, and I can help them out with that.
All right, well, thank you, Lisa. And she mentioned the acronym. We all in government, state government, federal government, we like to use acronyms, and CAPE stands for County Agriculture Investment Program. So it's an application process that Conservation District administers, and it's on a reimbursement basis. And Lesia did give us some idea of the different expense items that are eligible. Works closely with the Pike County Extension Office, Suzanne Stumbo. I see that she's here. And so not only is it reimbursement, but there also is an educational requirement that she provides the technical assistance to do that. So next, we're moving on to Chad Smith with the Department of Agriculture. He's going to talk about the different programs that are also funded with the tobacco fund. So, Chad.
Good morning. Try again. There we are. As Bill mentioned, with the Department of Agriculture representing the Office of Agricultural Marketing and our Kentucky Proud program. For those that aren't aware, Kentucky Proud is the Commonwealth's official agricultural marketing program. Do we have any members with us this morning? Fantastic. Any that work with members? The two grant programs that I'm going to discuss are dedicated to our Kentucky Proud members. Registration is free. It's simple. You can go to kyproud.com/register to get a free membership, and then with that open up the many resources that are available. The first that we'll talk about is our POP promotional grant. It's a cost share marketing reimbursement for marketing advertising expenses up to $8,000 annually, $36,000 in a lifetime. As Bill and Kevin has said this morning, these programs that were discussed represent diversity and expansion. The premise behind the POP promotional grant is to provide those seed monies for those marketing expenses, whether it be a business card, packaging, labeling, signage, vehicle wraps, goes on and on, pretty varied. The only request that we have of that is the inclusion of the Kentucky Proud logo. Being in Pikeville, we have to mention that Pikeville is part of the Appalachian Proud region, which is a subset under the Kentucky Proud program, represents a third of our entire membership. We have the same footprint as ARC and SOAR, so 54 counties are represented. Aside from that, another program is called Buy Local. Buy Local provides food service entities another reimbursement program of 15% on eligible food costs. These monies are going back to the food service entities, but they are for purchases from our Kentucky Proud members of local food product, Kentucky foods, whether it be proteins, produce, value-added products, and such. Those are calculated on a quarterly basis. We have some distributors in place with this. Our largest food service distributor in the state is What Chefs Want. Some people may know them as Creation Gardens. They can report for you quarterly, but those reports, submission requests come in each quarter. We do a calculation, send you a check. Again, that's up to $8,000 annually, $36,000 in a lifetime, and both of these programs are supported, as well as the entire Kentucky program, by the generosity of the Ag Development Board.
Okay, thank you, Chad. As you can see by the presentation by Chad, we're trying to promote, market more of our Kentucky-grown products. We realized over 20 years ago that we needed to shift away from government support programs to supporting our farmers with different technical assistance and programs and cost share programs as they look to transition and sell directly to consumers. And they need the marketing assistance, and that's what the Kentucky Proud program provides for. All right, so now we're going to shift over to our friends from the federal government. So next we're going to talk to Tony Burnett. He is with the Natural Resource Conservation Service. So go ahead, Tony.
Thank you, Bill. As Bill said, I'm Tony Burnett. I'm the Supervisory Natural Resource Manager with the Natural Resources Conservation Service. I manage the Foothills Work Unit. It's a 12-county work unit that ranges from Boyd County and Greenup County to the north and south here to Pike County. There should be a few slides maybe about our history and what we do. I've been with the agency a little over 30 years, and recently one of our most popular programs are Farm Bill programs that we offer both technical and financial assistance with. So you've probably heard of our Environmental Quality Incentives Program. It's a financial incentive. It used to be a cost-shared program, but we're now more of a cost incentive program where we pay a flat rate based on the practices that are applied. So EQIP in Kentucky is probably our largest funding opportunity. We typically fund about $20 million through the EQIP program annually. These are typically livestock watering systems, wildlife-based, forest land, timber stand improvement, grazing land-based, and cropland-based type practices. A special initiative we have in just the 12 counties in the foothills is a high tunnel initiative, if you're familiar with high tunnels. Kentucky started funding high tunnels about 6-7 years ago. And unfortunately, where we determined that a great need for high tunnels were in our work unit in Eastern Kentucky, the ranking process, we didn't hardly rank out like we thought we needed to, and the opportunity was there. So we developed with our partners, with UK and other partners, an initiative to fund 120 high tunnels in those 12 counties over a 5-year period to address food deserts in the area. So FY22 was our first funding year for that, and we were able to fund 24 high tunnels. And we have about 5 that are already constructed as a result of that. So we'll continue that. We were lucky enough in our 12 counties to fund about $1 million worth of EQIP. That includes the high tunnel initiative. But we're here to help local producers address resource concerns on their land, whether it be extending the growing season through high tunnel applications, or extending grazing opportunities if you're a grazing operation, or in our area we have a lot of wildlife habitat improvement and forest stand improvement that we can fund. So I've left some handouts over there on high tunnels and how to get started within our CS, and we partner very close with the Farm Service Agency, and Kevin will probably discuss some of those opportunities. So if you ever need anything, my card's over there. Reach out. We'll be glad to help.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. So staying with the United States Department of Agriculture, or USDA, we got Kevin Whitaker with the Farm Service Agency. So Kevin.
Thank you, Bill. Good morning. It's good to be here with you all. One of the main things that the Farm Service Agency does is maintain farm records. That means we delineate farm property, we calculate the acreage, we record the operators, the owners, the other tenants, and we assign farm numbers. For most of the programs that my colleagues have mentioned here, when you sign up for their funding opportunities, they're going to ask, what is your farm number? So I'm the person that you come to first to get that. I'm the county executive director over 14 counties here in Eastern Kentucky. I have offices located in West Liberty and Jackson. So that's one of the main things that I have to tell people when we have speaking engagements like this is establishing your farm number is very important. It's important to opening the door to some of those funding opportunities that the other agencies have. As far as programs, our programs typically fall on the safety net side of things. We are here to help you maintain your farming operation. We have programs that insure what are generally considered uninsurable crops, and that would be, for our area, mostly fruits and vegetables, honey, things of that nature. So we kind of come in after something goes wrong to try to help you stay afloat, to try to help you be able to afford to farm again next year if we have a disaster, that affects your outcome. We also offer some conservation programs. The Conservation Reserve Program is a 10-year contract where we take a portion of your land and we plant it either to trees or shrubs or some other type of cover, and you're given an annual payment to maintain those acres over that 10-year contract. We also offer a ARC PLC program that is for corn bases, soybean bases, where if there's a downturn in the market, you could be eligible for a payment at the end of the year. But the main thing I need to stress to everybody here is that the importance of establishing your farm number and in order to get those opportunities with everybody else. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kevin. Now we're part of our agenda here. We'll be glad to take questions from the audience. Does anybody have any questions? You can see there's a lot of resources here, not only in Pike County, surrounding counties, statewide, at the state level, as well as the federal level. And, you know, part of it, again, is funded by the Master Settlement Agreement of tobacco funds that flow through the Kentucky Office of Ag Policy. We're able to use those funds appropriated by the General Assembly to invest in programs and projects to help our farmers, again, as they're establishing their operation or diversify into their operation, work closely with these organizations, as well as the Extension Service at Kentucky State University and the University of Kentucky. And I see Suzanne Stumbo is here in the audience, so can be a great resource as well. In fact, it's probably the gateway to a lot of these programs is working with Extension, contacting the Extension office in your county to say, hey, here's my idea, what resources are available out there. As you can see, there's quite a bit. Is there any questions from the audience? Okay.
Kevin, explain to people more about Robinson Center and how important it is to Eastern Kentucky.
Repeat the question, Kevin, just so we can.
Sure. Well, the Robinson Center was, I get a little bit of history. The Robinson Center was gifted to the University of Kentucky years ago. It was the actual site was the staging area of the log yard for the logging operation that happened at the Robinson Forest. It's a 17,000 acre forest that the University of Kentucky has for forestry research. And the Robinson Center itself is RCARS, is Robinson Center for Appalachian Resource Sustainability. So the research center is positioned to develop and research things that might be of interest to folks in Appalachia, things that might be valuable to them. So whether that's forestry or agriculture or mining, and the traditional mission of the land grant, as that's what University of Kentucky is. It's a traditional land grant university. But the Robinson Center has horticulture research. It is the regional research center for the University of Kentucky in the East. They provide, the wood shop is a commercial wood shop. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's got some of the old equipment from, you know, the 1950s and 60s that just doesn't break. And the fellow that runs it, Doran, anybody would be blessed to be mentorship underneath Doran. In terms of woodworking businesses, it's a craft, I guess, that many young folks are not getting involved in, cabinetry making and things that require that type of skill. It hosts activities monthly for the kids and the schools of the region. Every year there's the Mountain Ag Week where we invite folks in and they get a field day out there and they get to see all the research demonstrations and stuff, and so it's a real opportunity. And I think that the real benefit here is that you get a voice directly to Lexington here in Eastern Kentucky with that Robinson Center. And so by being able to connect with the folks there, you can have your needs more directly met, and they get heard there in Lexington. And then in turn, the money turns around, the research grants get applied for, these types of things come in, and then they can complement all of these other programs that we've been talking about here, because then you're able to match funds. You know, that's particularly useful when you need to be able to show that you've got community involvement in your projects and stuff. So, yeah, the Robinson Center, we hope will be a hub for that here in Eastern Kentucky, and we hope to continue to work with people in whatever they need, agricultural or business or rural development or otherwise.
All right, thank you, Kevin. Any other questions out there? Yes, ma'am. Got a question in the back.
I know you mentioned like
Definitely, yes. Yes, those are eligible expenses, as well as web development now. That's become a very popular reimbursement for as well. We're proud to say that we have over $1 million that we're able to put back into the communities in these advertising marketing funds because of the POP grant.
Any other questions?
Charlie?
Tony, explain to them what a high tunnel is if people don't know, and how they go about, where they start to apply for it.
Sure. So Charlie's question was a little bit more about the operation of a high tunnel and where you might go to get started if you're interested in that. So a high tunnel is a plastic-covered structure with the intent to extend the growing season of fruits, vegetables, flowers, and it's planted directly in the ground, so it's not like a typical greenhouse that you may have raised beds or planter boxes or something like that. So a high tunnel is passive radiation. There's typically no supplemental heat, but you can extend your growing season from, in Kentucky, depending on the crop, as sometimes 12 months of the year, if it's a cold crop type, greens or something like that. I've seen strawberries blooming in December. I've seen, tomatoes bearing, early in the spring. Strawberries available for picking, in April, and you're ahead of the typical markets that way. So if you're interested in a high tunnel, again, the eligibility, as Kevin Whitaker mentioned, farm number is one. There's some other eligibility that you'll need to take care of at the Farm Service Agency office. Apply at your local conservation district, or in our 12 counties, we have offices in West Liberty, Paintsville, and Grayson. EQIP applications are taken on a year-round basis. We have periodic batching cutoffs. The first batching cutoff for FY23 will be, the cutoff is November 4th. So if you're remotely interested, make sure you got your farm records in order and stop by and complete an application prior to November the 4th for this first funding round. And our high tunnel initiative, 120 high tunnels is our goal. We've done 24 of those in the first year. We have several $1 million in that initiative that we have available for funding. So don't hesitate, to check with some additional information on that. A high tunnel, the typical size is generally a 30 by 96, about 2,800 square feet. We pay by the square foot. In the initiative, we can do a smaller footprint if needed. We just completed a high tunnel on what I would consider a house in a small lot, less than an acre. FSA typically will create a farm number, based on their eligibility on smaller scales like that. So we can pay for micro irrigation, gutters, some additional things are available in that initiative, pumping plants, and some irrigation pipelines. So a variety of things available through the High Tunnel Initiative.
Thanks for update on that, Tony. And there's a technical assistance with that. Not only, I'm going to keep going back to University of Kentucky Extension Service here with Suzanne, and also another entity that helps with this is Grow Appalachia. They're out of Berea College. It's an initiative that the Ag Development Board has funded with these tobacco funds, and they provide that technical assistance to come out and do a soil sample and say, okay, here's what will grow well in a high tunnel, and then they'll talk about different things regarding rotating the different crops. So I mentioned earlier $48 million of the $129 million that the state received out of the Mess Settlement Agreement. A portion of that is divided out among the counties, at least each county getting $30,000. Also want to mention, well, what do we do with that other remaining funds of $29 million? We invest it in different projects across the state. One of the projects you're going to be familiar here with, Charlie, is the farmers market that you have here in downtown Pikeville. That was a collaboration of local government, some local leadership, and then the Ag Development Board did approve $250,000 in the $600,000 farmers market. Gets priority to farmers, but it's also used for other activities here in Pike County, and it provides opportunity to farmers, whether you're just getting started or you're established and you're utilizing the high tunnel approach. Then you've got a marketplace at the farmers market to connect with consumers or sell directly to institutions or wholesale businesses. Also want to mention that the Ag Development Board, again using these tobacco funds, funded a study working with the University of Kentucky and University of Pikeville on in collaboration with the state and the Netherlands on greenhouse study. So Netherlands is very well known for developing the technology for closed environment systems, and so that study was recently concluded and presented to our Ag Development Board, talking about all the great opportunities we have if you're going to graduate up from high tunnel, maybe to go to a controlled environment system. We've got the resources to assist with that, namely water. We're close to the population in the United States, creates the opportunities as well. So a couple of projects to mention. As we look at from our office, Kentucky Office of Ag Policy, our initiative is transitioning away from tobacco. I think I've mentioned that earlier. I think we've done a good job of doing it. Now, trying to connect the farmers with the consumers. Here's all the resources to help you do it, from the cost share programs at the county till the technical assistance, whether that's Kentucky State University, University of Kentucky, Grow Appalachia. There's an entity we haven't mentioned that provides technical assistance on the business planning. KCARD, Kentucky Center for Agriculture and Rural Development. We've mentioned the farmers market. It creates the market opportunities. Kevin's got the value added. If you're doing value added processing, you can tap into the Kentucky Small Scale Grant Program. And then, of course, they need assistance on marketing. That's where Chad comes in with the Department of Agriculture. So the Ag Development Board for these funds is taking a shotgun approach to try and transition our economy from what was tobacco-dependent economy to more food production. All right, any other questions we have for the audience? We've still got 10 minutes. Any other?
I'd like to make a comment. When they're talking about these high tunnels, and if you don't understand the high tunnel, I was at a visit with the high tunnel last week, and they had a huge crop of green beans. You go to the farmer's market, and these people look at it, they're buying those and bringing it in. No, these are actually grown here in Pike County. It's one of our answers for the future. Agriculture all the way through, and I love the high tunnel program. And we have 6 here in Pike County and a couple more applications out right now.
Okay, so that's Suzanne Stumbo with the UK Extension Service. So that's local producers utilizing funding out of Natural Resource Conservation Service, right, Tony?
Yes.
To fund the high tunnels, and then they're marketing at the farmers market here. It's a beautiful structure down there. I understand they have some really nice weddings down there as well. So it's a multi-use, but we like the priorities for the agriculture community, but great collaboration of local government and, again, leadership here in the community. Any other questions from the audience?
And these grants are not that hard to fill out. It doesn't take rocket science to fill them out. Just simple common sense and answering their questions.
On the high tunnels, Tony, did you mention at what % you can receive as a cost share?
So the EQIP program, the Environmental Quality Incentives, it's a cost incentive. It's not a cost share basis,
Yeah.
So we pay a flat rate. I can't right off the top of my head. So if it's 3,000 square feet and we're paying $5 a square foot, we'll pay you $15,000 for that 3,000 square foot high tunnel, whether it costs you $20,000 to build or $5,000 to build, as long as it meets our standards and specs. So it's a flat rate cost. Typically, it's if you penciled it out 75-25, we do have historically underserved rates that we can add additional amounts to that flat rate that makes it sometimes 90-10. We have recently constructed some through some contractors that fortunately paid nearly 100% of the cost. So it just depends.
Did I hear that right? You said 100%?
It could.
All right. Well,
It could.
I don't know how you get any better than that. So, all right. Thanks, Tony. I'm going to go back to Lisa. So she administered with the Pike County Conservation District, the CAPE program, County Agriculture Investment Program. So what have you seen or how these funds been invested? What kind of applications are you funding here in Pike County? Where's the interest? There's Joyce with the red hat. All right. Glad to be here, Joyce. All right. Lisa?
Okay, most of our funding has been applied towards fencing and on-farm watering. A lot of our other projects have been helping with a lot of the people, they have their sheds and stuff that they store their farm equipment under. They've had new roofs and stuff put on those to renovate those. This last time we've had a value added one. Beekeepers and stuff, they like it. They can get their incubators to start their queen bees and to raise those with their wood and wire and stuff for their beekeeping projects. Trying to think of what else right off the top of my head.
Lisa, you made the point of fencing, boundary fencing. I think this is the CAPE program, again, County Agriculture Investment Program, cost share program administered by the Pike County Conservation District for boundary fencing. That is the only program on a consistent basis that you can receive cost share on boundary fences. Now, fencing through the other programs, Tony, I think it can be grazing fencing, internal fencing, but there's some limits on boundary fences. So that's an example of how a state program complements a federal program. So anything you want to mention on that, Tony?
That's the beauty of of all of these programs is if one is not able to fund your enterprise, another one may, in partnership with, and that's what we like to do. It's kind of like a toolbox, pick all the tools that you can use, regardless of where they came from. So we can do a lot of interior fence. We can fence livestock from streams, livestock from woodlands, and pay that flat rate per foot, where the settlement funds, county investment money can go to those boundary fences that are also needed in that grazing operation, but we unfortunately can't pay for through the federal programs. So it's a very good blend of funding there.
Any questions for our panelists before I ask Kevin? Give me an example of one of your value-added projects that you all funded that you might want to share here with the audience.
Sure. We've helped folks take a garage and turn it into a commercial kitchen on farm so that they can process the things that they produce on their farm into value-added products. I think that's one of the most powerful improvements a small farmer can make to their farm, because it just opens up market access. Then it allows you to go down to the KDA and get some of that marketing money to help with that. We've done cold storage too, so folks that need to do cold storage, that's been a big thing. We've helped out with that. So between, value-added conversion with commercial kitchens and a cold storage, it's been pretty big. A couple of pack houses we've done for folks that are big.
So Kevin, I think that speaks to looking to expand your operation. If you're going to sell at the farmer's market, you're going to go wholesale. You have the options with that. I want to wrap up with Kevin with F Farm Service Agency. We've talked about grants, cost share, financial incentives. Let's wrap up with the loan program. If you're looking to buy a farm, buy the adjoining farm, there is some low interest loans available out there through the Farm Service Agency. So Kevin, you want to talk about what kind of limits, interest rates, and I know interest rates are edging up, so talk about how your program works with the Farm Service Agency.
Interest rates are inching up, and we get those first of every month. We get updates on them. I don't know off the top of my head what our interest rates are for October, but they are excellent comparatively. We're lower than any bank anywhere around. We offer farm ownership loans. Those can be set up on a 40-year term. We offer farm operating loans. Those are annual loans where you're getting operating funds in order to plant your crops or to buy your cattle or whatever it is for the year. We have what we call guaranteed loans, where the money actually comes from your local bank, but your loan is guaranteed by the federal government. So that gives you a little help on your interest rate too. The loan office manager for this part of the state is Chris Cantrell. He works in the West Liberty office, and he's got about an 18-county area that he's responsible for. So if anybody has questions or needs more information about that, Chris would be the person that you'd want to ask. It's a pretty simple loan process. Sometimes it's lengthy, but it's not that hard. We ask for some tax returns just to show that you have been farming and are capable in order to get you started. We also offer what we call micro loans, which would be loans that are less than $50,000, and those are even easier. There's less paperwork, there's less time. We can turn those around pretty quick. So if you're looking for a loan, that's going to be through FSA also. And again, I don't know the interest rates that are for October, but they're extremely competitive, and I almost guarantee that you can't find something cheaper anywhere else.
Okay, thanks for the update on that, Kevin. I'd also mention that in the Governor's Office, or Kentucky Office of Ag Policy, we do have a loan program, Kentucky Agriculture Finance Corporation. We partner with local lenders of your choice. When I get a call about the loan program, I recommend that they pursue FSA, Farm Service Agency, because that's the cheapest money out there, and you got longer terms. It's just the timing of it doesn't always work out. If they're trying to buy at auction, or the funding's not available, they can utilize our program, Kentucky Agriculture Finance Corporation, working with the lender of your choice. It's a participation arrangement. Our interest rates are 2.75, working with the local lender. So a little bit about the Kentucky Ag Finance Corporation loan program. Okay, any other questions? I think we're about ready to wrap up this session, take a 15-minute break, and then come back at 10:30 to talk about building diverse markets.
You want to show the contact?
Yeah. Here's our contact list, and we've got 15-minute break, so if you want to visit with any of our panelists and get their business cards or talk to them about any other programs, we'll be glad to do that.